expires, I will say.
All right, we will call to order the Ravenna City Council meeting for Tuesday, January 3rd at 6 p.m. I do want to remind council members just to make sure your mics are on, or anybody else that's speaking this evening. So the first item on the agenda this evening is a moment of meditation and silence. And would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Chelsea, would you call the roll?
Mr. Kelfie?
Here.
Ms. West? Here. Mr. Moskin?
Here.
Ms. Michael? Here. Mr. Cares?
Here.
Ms. Wood?
Here.
Mr. Harper?
Here.
It's a new year, so we have a couple items on the agenda this evening that coincide with that, which is the first item is the election of the President Pro Tem. Do we have a motion to nominate Pro Tem this evening?
I'll make a
How many votes is
nomination
it gonna take?
Yeah.
to appoint Ms. Michaels, President Pro Tem.
Second.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelfie?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael? Abstain. Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Congratulations. Another year.
You had a meeting last year, didn't you?
Yeah,
I
you
did.
did.
I
Yeah,
was-
you did.
Come on.
I think I've had two in my lifetime.
Okay,
since
you had
I've
one
done
this
it.
past year?
The next item on the agenda is the committee assignments, and as you will see, nothing has changed from last year, so everybody is on the same committee. So if everyone is all right with what's being proposed, do we have a motion to accept those as submitted?
So move. Second.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Mr. Kelfie?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And we have one other item on here, which is the cemetery, appointment to the cemetery board. And I believe that Mr. Moskin's term was up officially, so just to officially reappoint him back to the cemetery, do we have a motion to do that?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Kelfie?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
I'll abstain.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
All right, and then moving on to the approval of meeting minutes. We have meeting minutes from the regular city council meeting of December 5th, the public hearing of December 19th, and the special city council meeting of December 30th. Were there any additions or corrections to any of those? Do we have a motion to accept as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And communications, we only had the Christmas card from Utility Billing Department to council. Is it? Okay. Were there any delegations from the public this evening that would like to speak? And if not, then in your packets, we should have the report of officials that are in there. Were there any questions regarding those? Do we have a motion to accept as submitted, the
So
reports?
move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Committee meetings will begin in 2 weeks on January 17th, 2023, beginning with utilities. Mr. Moskin.
At this point, there is nothing.
And information systems.
To be determined.
Planning, Mr. Karras.
We have a couple of items for final consideration, and we will be having a meeting next week. Is it next week?
Committee of the whole. 2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks.
Committee of the whole will be on January 23rd at 6 p.m. Public health and safety, Ms. Michael.
I imagine we probably will.
Okay.
I don't know at this official, but
Streets and sidewalks, Mr. Harper?
We have a few items for consideration this evening, and more than likely we will, excuse me, need a meeting.
Personnel, Mr. Calfee?
Yes, we will have a meeting.
Community and economic development, Ms. Wood?
to be determined.
All right. Any updates from the cemetery?
They did receive their zero-turn mower. That was a big plus before the price increase. And Mark Gabriel is planning on getting some prices to have a small portion of the road in the area of the maintenance building ground down and resurfaced before it gets too much worse. Hopefully he'll have a bid in the next, prospectively, couple months. March at the latest.
We were able to provide a 3% raise for the full-time people for the year 2023. Part-time people will address when they come back in the spring. We're going to have a carryover of about $38,000 this year. And we did take a major hit with insurance, health insurance this year. With the employees, it went up. I think the cities was, what, about 4%?
Yeah, about that.
Out there, we took an 18% hit this year. So, but all in all, it's good. The budget's stable, and we'll move forward into 2023.
Is there health insurance doing any incentives, Matt? Like what the city's doing here with incentives?
Not at this time.
No, that might be a big thing to, yeah.
We also do have some plans to get some of the projects that we put on hold addressed this year as well, so we're in pretty good shape.
All right, any updates from Parks and Rec, Mr. Calfee?
Just one item. On December 28th, the Emerald Lake Preserve was transferred to the city of Ravenna. So we're the proud owners of a big property there that we look forward to developing.
All right, and the other thing I'll mention before first reading of ordinances, we did get a request for an executive session at the end, so wanted to make you aware of that. So moving on to first reading of ordinances, beginning with ordinance number 2023-001.
There was a clerical error in the body of the ordinance. In section 1, it should say additional receptacle locations may be determined by the service director. An ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the city of Ravenna, Part 10, Streets, Utilities, and Public Service Code, Title 6, Other Public Services, Chapter 1060, Solid Waste Collection and Disposal, Section 1060.10, Maintenance of Containers, and declaring an emergency.
And this is sponsored by Public Health and Safety, Ms. Michael.
We've talked about this in great length, I think probably over a year, maybe almost 2 years now. I have been approached by a lot of the neighbors in a particular area, but since I have started talking about this particular topic, I've had people approach me in other neighborhoods, and in the past, other neighbors have submitted letters showing support of this. I feel that this is at a point where you're either in favor of it or you're not, either yes or no at this point. I think it's a small step into cleaning up our neighborhoods. I think we've all looked at ways in trying to clean up neighborhoods and make them look more, the appearance to look cleaner, and there is quite a bit of a problem in a lot of areas, and we have heard from the building department as council that they needed a little bit of help on some of the areas to obtain this. And so as council, we can create ordinances, we can fix them, we can take them away. So at this point, I decided to bring this to our committee and to help our building maintenance department to help clean up the neighborhoods help the building department to enforce sometimes tricky areas. I understand there are things on the books as well, but in some areas, some of those things need a little help. So with this being said, I think we've had a lot of discussion about it, and I think everybody's kind of has their thoughts and their own personal feelings on it, and I think we're at a point where you either are supporting it or you're not. I don't know if Mr. Finney has anything to say?
We'll do our best.
Thank you. The one has really finally, let's keep our fingers crossed. Long time coming.
Ms. Michaels, I do have a couple comments about it. While I am in favor of doing something regarding trash cans sitting in the front of houses, and this appears that we'll be able to address it with the language in here, the last couple weeks, as I drive around the city, all I see is trash cans.
Oh, yeah, I've
And I
always,
see all the variations of what we do with trash cans. And there is, to me, there is a potential problem, I think, on corner lots and how that will be enforced. So I don't know if we pass it and work through it, but as I've looked at a number of houses on it, you know, the requirement of they have two fronts, so they can't have them on either one of those sides, it would require some people to pull the trash cans all the way around in the backyard where there's not a way to do it unless they partition it off.
well,
But I guess I
appreciate
just want to say that I do have concerns about that. I don't know if it's enough to keep it from moving forward or me voting no on it, but that is a concern that
and
I
I
have.
think that's something too that with our building department and with also with the service department that we talked about, coming up with ways. I think also that it's never really ever been addressed like it should have been in the past. And I think if more people realize that it's forbidden, that it's something that we don't want in our community, where people having their trash cans sitting out front, overflowing trash, a lot of people, I think, will be more mindful in that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I agree. I just also want to say, though, as you drive around, there are lots of people that store their trash cans in the front of their property. It's a lot. So there's going to be a big educational component to this if that's not permitted anymore. So those are my only comments.
Bob, do you have any results on that? And I don't think they originally were going to go around and start ticketing people like we talked about. It wasn't meant to create issues only where really needed. And again, I think we can tweak, change as needed, bring it back if there's something that needs to be fixed. If something isn't working, it can always come back to committee. That's what's nice about council and ordinances. You can always change, make, create. That's something that we can do. So that's all I have to say.
Any questions on this item from council? Do we have a motion to waive the 3 separate readings?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Mr. Calfee?
No.
Ms. West?
No.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
No.
Your tally on that.
Four.
It's only 4.
Four.
It'll just require the 3 readings, the second reading and third reading.
So we'll leave this here for February. Moving on to second reading of ordinances, ordinance number 2023-002.
An ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the City of Ravenna, Part 10, Streets, Utilities, and Public Service Code Title VI, Other Public Services, Chapter 1062, Collection of Recyclable Materials, Section 1062.07, placing recyclable material for collection and declaring an emergency.
Also sponsored by Public Health and Safety.
It just goes along with the first one as well.
If there's no other questions on this item, I do want a roll call vote on asking if we have a motion to waive the 3 separate readings.
So moved.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
I did have a question. The only thing that is the change in this ordinance is that it says that the location of the recycling bin shall meet the requirements of the codified ordinance, section 1060.10. That's the only change in that.
Yeah, I kind of brought this up because there's a separate, 2 separate sections in the code, one for solid waste and one for recyclables. And there used to be a section on containers. I don't remember what number it is off the top of my head. And it got repealed.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's, so, it probably would have been my preference to have a separate subsection, but this is fine. You know, the one that says on
Yeah.
containers, just like the other one. But it'll be.
And if we approve this one under the emergency, even with the language not finalized in the other one, it's still, that 1060.1 is still in there,
Yeah,
so there's nothing stopping this one.
True, yes.
That's all, only comment.
Do we have a second?
What do we,
We have a first motion to waive the 3 separate readings.
I'll second it.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
No.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
No.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And do we have a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
No.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
No.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And then do we have a motion to pass the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
No.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
No.
All right, that ordinance is adopted, so moving on to ordinance number 2023-003.
An ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the City of Ravenna, Part 2, Administration Code, Title 6, Administration, Chapter 244, Fire Department, Section 244.05, Emergency Ambulance Service System D, Charges, by updating the charges for emergency ambulance service to become effective February 1st, 2023, and declaring an emergency.
This is also sponsored by Public Health and Safety, Ms. Michael.
This is just what we talked about, increasing our billing services with our ambulances. So we've talked about this in length, and we just need to go ahead and move forward with this.
Chief, anything we're missing?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Did we ever hear back about the Medicare, Medicaid part addition?
We have two weeks before the committee.
Yeah,
Committee
I mean,
meetings.
I've been in contact with Chris Knapp, but I haven't really got anything new from her, other than that.
I mean, it was just my suggestion, we
Yeah.
add that language so that we're in our ordinance saying we're billing the appropriate amount rather than overbilling and knowing we're not gonna collect, which seems odd to me.
Yeah, and I did express, I did ask her if she would be willing, her or Andrea, if they'd be willing to come to the committee meeting, and I didn't know what council thought of that. If you would, if it would be worth her trip coming out here. She did, preface that she would like kind of questions beforehand so she could be prepared for them, instead of just kind of spitting off, random numbers, so. If you guys let me know if that's something you guys want to do, I can get with her, on that.
Where's she coming from?
Well, Life Force is right in town, it's right by the sheets and stuff.
It's in the Badlands Development.
I was just-
She's the owner of Life Force.
Right.
Either her or Andrea, which is her main person, or both.
They're local though, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I don't know where they live. I'm not sure
I
on that.
thought maybe, at one time that she lived in Ravenna Township, but I don't
Okay,
know if
so
she
I think
still
she's
does.
close, yeah.
Uh,
I'm
we
not
have-
actually sure on that.
We have the option, I guess I'm just a long-winded way of saying we have the option of bringing them in virtually. So if they want to,
Well,
get
I
on
can ask them
computer.
that too, what their
Which
thought
is
is.
easier.
yeah. Especially if they're giving a presentation, you know.
Okay.
We could plan on
What,
that
is,
for.
is that the idea to leave this on first reading, or I'm not sure I understand?
No,
No, we
the
need to
ambulance,
pass it.
the ambulance rates, that's why I'm trying to differentiate between the two. The ambulance rates that we discussed, I think everybody sounds like past meeting was in favor of, but then differentiating extra language around Medicare, Medicaid, adding that to Public
Later.
Health and Safety Committee coming
As
up
well
in
as
2 weeks.
the soft billing.
And this, yeah.
Yeah, there was
you're
some
right.
discussion on soft billing or limiting billing and different things like, options like that.
It is interesting to me that the second whereas clause says in order to maximize the rate reimbursed from insurance carriers, auto insurance carriers, Medicare, and individual. I would appreciate it if we can open up that discussion, but I'm prepared to vote on this tonight.
So you are?
I am.
Okay.
I agree with these rates.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't forgetting about that other point.
No.
Okay, good.
Is there any other questions about the ambulance rates this evening?
Okay, so just if council could kind of let me know in the next maybe
Yeah,
few days.
that's fine, we said to.
Yeah.
What questions you have, so I can give those to her as well then, and I'll let her know they're coming.
Okay, I can talk with you tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine, Okay, sounds good.
Do we have a motion to waive the 3 separate readings?
So moved.
Second,
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And to adopt the emergency clause?
So moved.
Second,
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And then a motion to pass the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
All right, that ordinance is adopted. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2023-004.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids according to law for the 2023 paving program and for the painting of pavement markings and striping pursuant to specifications now on file in the mayor's office and declaring an emergency.
And this is sponsored by Streets and Sidewalks. Mr. Harper?
Yep, this is our annual paving program. Budget's a little bit more this year, but we're doing a couple really big projects. Some beginning phases of Main Street, which are, please everybody, and then Prospect and Chestnut as well, two major arteries in and out of the city.
In the second phase of Freedom.
Second
So, yeah.
phase of Freedom, brick phase, correct.
Anything we're missing? Any questions from council? Do we have a motion to waive the 3 separate readings?
So move.
Second.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And do we have a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So move.
Second.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And then a motion to pass the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
All right, that ordinance is adopted. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2023-005.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids according to law for the paving of South Prospect and North Chestnut Street and declaring an emergency.
And this is sponsored by Streets and Sidewalks as well, Mr. Harper.
Part of that budget, our percentage for these are 20%, which is in the paving budget.
Questions from council? Do we have a motion to waive the 3 separate readings?
So moved.
Second,
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
A motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So moved.
Second,
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And then a motion to pass the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2023-006.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign the preliminary participatory legislation agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, to pave Main Street from the west city limits to the east city limits and declaring an emergency.
It's an exciting one.
Yeah,
Responses?
this, same deal. This is just, saying that we'll agree to ODOT's rules and regulations.
You sure?
And did you say you anticipate them not getting to it this year and possibly 2024? Is that the idea?
Their schedules showed that they would advertise in August,
Okay.
and just knowing ODOT's procedures, I doubt they're gonna issue a contract and allow the contractor to start in October,
Okay.
knowing they have a very short window. It might happen, I just don't necessarily see it happening.
Okay. Well, at least it's here. So,
We're ready,
step one.
we're ready for them.
Yeah. Is there any questions from council? Do we have a motion to waive the 3 separate readings?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And do we have a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
Second.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And then a motion to pass the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
All right, that ordinance is adopted. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2023-007.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to renew a 3-year subscription with Davy Tree Expert Company for the mobile application of the Tree Keeper software, appropriating the sum of $6,250 and declaring an emergency.
Also sponsored by Streets and Sidewalks, Mr. Harper?
Yeah, this software is very helpful to the Shade Tree Commission. It helps us track trees that have been trimmed, trees that are removed, where we have tree planting sites, so on and so forth. So it's very helpful to that commission.
Any questions on this item? Do we have a motion to waive the 3 separate readings?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
And then a motion to pass the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
All right, that ordinance is adopted. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2023-008.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Hammond Tree Associates to provide land surveying service for sanitary sewer easement for the former GE buildings and appropriate $2,500 for the service and $500 for the easement recording from the sanitary sewer fund and declaring an emergency.
And this is sponsored by Utilities, Mr. Moskin.
Yes. This dollar figure that's there's plenty of money in the sanitary fund to cover this. This is very critical for the projects over there at the old GE facility to progress.
Any questions on this item? We have a motion to waive the 3 separate readings.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And then a motion to adopt the emergency clause.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
And then a motion to pass the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Cares?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
All right, that ordinance is adopted. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2023-009.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 2021-110 by extending the salary schedule set forth in ordinance 2021-10 and any amendments thereto beyond December 31st, 2022, until said salary schedule is subsequently amended by further ordinance and declaring an emergency.
And this was brought forward from our last meeting to extend the 2022 payroll ordinance until we have time to discuss 2023. So as it reads, this will take us through January to make sure that employees are paid. So are there any questions from council on this item? This is just extending 2022. Do we have a motion to waive 3 separate readings?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And then a motion to pass the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
All right, that ordinance is adopted. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2022-125.
An ordinance fixing the number of employees of the city of Ravenna, establishing a classification plan, a salary schedule for the period January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, in accordance with Exhibit A attached here too, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and declaring an emergency.
All right, and with this one, this was brought forward by the finance director. With this, we're taking it to personnel. We probably could have taken it to personnel procedurally, but wanted to keep it on the agenda in front of us. So we'll need to take action on this item in February, as it will be on 3rd reading. So requesting that I'm asking council to table this. Is there any questions? Not table this. Leave it on for 3rd reading, excuse me. Is there any questions on this before we move on? All right. Moving on, so that, yeah, that is everything on 2nd reading. Moving on to 3rd reading of ordinances, which is ordinance number 2022-114.
An ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the city of Ravenna, Part 12, Planning and Zoning Code, Title 6, Zoning, Chapter 1278, Supplementary Regulations, Section 1278.20, roof pitch as described in Exhibit A.
And this is sponsored by planning, Mr. Karas.
Yeah, so this is on its final reading. A while back, there were some requests for variances. Apparently, they're for, I keep forgetting, is it garage or accessory building?
That is a garage.
Garage,
Accessory
what?
building garage, correct.
Yeah, there's new ways of doing them. I believe metal roofs provide less of a pitch, and so rather than going through this process of getting variances over and over again, the building department thought it'd be a good idea just to change the ordinance and lessen the need of a pitch for certain types of roofs.
I just want to add, Board of Zoning Appeals asked that we make this change.
Right.
Any questions on this item? Do we have a motion to waive the 3 separate readings?
We already did 3 readings.
Do we have a motion to pass? Thank you.
So
Got-
moved.
gotta go
Second.
rhythm.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
All right, that ordinance is adopted. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2022-115.
An ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the city of Ravenna, Part 12, Planning and Zoning Code, Title 6, Zoning, Chapter 1266, Districts Generally and Zoning Map, Section 1266.03, Zoning Map by rezoning Portage County parcel number 31-316-10-00-012-000 from R4 Residential District to I1 Industrial District as described in Exhibit A.
All right, and this is also sponsored by planning, Mr. Karas.
Yeah, this is the 3rd reading for this ordinance. We did have a public hearing a couple of weeks ago. So it's up for a vote tonight. The issue is whether we should rezone a parcel of land that is next to a zoned industrial area that's being set up as a medical marijuana dispensary. My access to my vocabulary tonight is limited. And anyway, so it could provide parking, additional parking for that medical marijuana dispensary.
Is there any questions on this item from council? Anything we're missing, Bob?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, sir.
Did you say that was the property that was purchased for them for parking is going to be zoned according to the industrial?
Yeah.
Okay.
The existing property that was purchased for the dispensary, that building and that property is industrial.
Okay.
The house next door that they purchased also is R4, and so that they can combine the properties, they would be rezoned, the R4 would be rezoned I1.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Is that right?
Yes, Planning Commission has already heard the proposal and agreed to fencing and screening along the north property line. And, yeah, I'm sorry, the approval was contingent upon the rezoning by council.
Any other questions from council on this item? Well, do we have a motion to pass ordinance 2022-115?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Calfee?
Yes.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
No.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
All right, that ordinance is adopted. The next, well, there's nothing else on the agenda this evening. Do we have any old or new business come before council? The only thing I'll say is a new year. I appreciate being up here with all of you and asking the questions that we do, having the debates that we do, and I look forward to it for another year. And I'll leave it there. I'm not gonna say much. But Mr. Harper, anything you'd like to say this evening?
I'd just like to wish everybody a happy and healthy new year.
Miss Michael?
I think the same. Happy New Year, everyone. Hopefully some more exciting things to come to Ravenna. I think every year we seem to gain a little bit more things that, surprise me. So that's all.
Mr. Karas?
Just repeat the sentiments. I'm looking forward to another new year with a great group of people making changes in Ravenna.
Mr. Moskin?
No, I don't have any additional comments.
Mr. Calfee?
On the last day of last year, the Ravenna Pulse was published, a newsletter from Mr. West. And it was excellent, the report that he put out under the Ravenna Pulse, a lot of good information in it. And he also linked to an economic overview report, which was very interesting and informative also. And those are two documents that I encourage everyone to look at and digest. And I'm really thankful for the work that Mr. West is doing and the way that he's put these reports together about our economic outlook.
Ms. West?
Nothing tonight.
Ms. Wood?
Just Happy New Year and looking forward to some of the projects that are coming forward this year.
All right. And Mayor, before I throw it to you, just shout out, thank you, Chelsea, again, for another year, all your hard work here. So I think that needs to be recognized. But Mayor? Throw it to
I
you.
wish all of you a very happy new year. There are going to be a lot of things moving us forward this summer. The paving program's really taken off, and if we get Main Street done, there is a map out that the building department has put out with all the streets that have been done and the proposed ones. With that, which is worth keeping a copy of. I want to ask council to start thinking about the fact that we went to the Charter Commission and has to have the finance director position be one of being appointed. We're going to have to start taking a look at that early spring. We, two things that we need, if you read the charter, it's left to, up to council to pass an ordinance defining what the qualifications are for that position. So we need to do that. The second thing we need to decide on is how much we're going to pay for that position. And we need to know that because we have to include that into the revenue budget that we do in July. So we don't want to wait till June to take a look at that. We need to get a look at it early and decide how you want to move forward with that. I don't know if Mr. Semina may be going to address some things. We did have a meeting with the newly appointed judge in the cemetery case. It was an online meeting, and I think he was kind of amazed, quite honestly. His initial take on this is where can you find the bottom of this problem? But that was my interpretation, but he sent some suggestions back, and I Frank would be better to address those. I'll stop with that.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, we did have a request for an executive session.
Pending litigation, both with the reference township and the Maple Grove Cemetery, and also another matter dealing with, both these are rather old cases. Matter involving a suit filed by Mr. Staples versus the city of Ravenna. And today, we were blessed with another one. And that deals with an individual filing a mandamus action against our Ravenna Police Department with the, and an issue that they raised.
I'd like to move that we go into executive session to discuss impending legal matters.
Second.
Mr. Karas?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.